Hey y'all, what's going on? I am back with another video, back like I never left. It's been a while. I know y'all probably like, girl, it's been forever. It has. A lot has been going on, so let's get into it. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Okay, I'm back. Yeah. So since April, a lot has been going on. Unfortunately, my brother did pass away from cancer, and I have been dealing with that. There has been a lot of transitions going on. So, for those of you who know, or for those of you who don't know, yes, I did leave Delta. Right? It was bittersweet because I had been there for so long, but I did leave Delta because it had got like really slow. And even though I was comfortable there, um, you know, I still had bills. Okay, them bills was billing, and I unfortunately I had to make the hard decision to transition to another company. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. I'm gonna be telling you guys how it is, what it is. I've been searching to see if anybody has quite covered this aspect of the new company that I'm with, and many of you guys have heard of this company. You know this company, and we're gonna get into it. Okay, so again, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we are, let's go, let's go, let's go. So the new company that I am with is none other than drum roll please, Landstar. I left Delta and I came to Landstar. Now I have been with Landstar since the beginning of June. We are now, it's been about a month, right? It's been about a month. But well, before I say but, let me say this. I do like it. I like Landstar. I do. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, we pull Landstar loads. Let me say this. Landstar's load board is probably not all that if you're working for Landstar, but Landstar's load board is, their loads are better than the loads that other companies may get. Landstar's load boards, they got loads. Listen, I see one load paying 8,000 going little of nowhere. It had to be like a priority load. So their load board, they got some crazy loads, but they got some good loads too. When you know here it does teach you how to manage your business because baby, you got to hustle, hustle, hustle. You got to be a people person. You have to have the personality, the gift of gab, all of the things. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to tell you about my experience coming on to Landstar, the things that they don't tell you coming on to Landstar, and yeah, you had to be ready. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. So when I first started the process with Landstar, I'm not gonna get into all of the extras with Delta on what was the breaking point for me saying okay, well, I'm going to give it a break. I will just sum it up and say that I still think the company is a good company. Every company has their slow periods, and I think that Delta went through a slow period, and I still had responsibilities that I had to take care of that I just had to take care of. So we just gonna keep it at that, and let's get into Landstar, okay? I will say I'm not opposed to going back to Delta. Now I will go back to Delta. If Landstar don't do what it's supposed to do, I would definitely be going back to Delta if Delta has picked up, okay? But Landstar right now, so let's stay on topic. Okay, so when I first applied for Landstar, let me tell you, the process out of this world. Landstar, it's like, listen, I have never applied to go to the Army, but if it is anything close to going to Landstar, Landstar, baby, they want it all. Okay, you got to go get your truck inspected. They want a picture of your family plate on your engine. So I didn't have that. I had to order that from the dealer just for you to go into California. If you decide to run California, it's not something you have to have, but if you don't have it, you can't go to California. So you got to do your drug test. You got to take their little online class. You got to do a lot of things. The process, oh, and they drag their feet. So it ain't like when you go to a regular company, you apply and then you have probably like 2 days orientation or a week orientation or whatever orientation they give you, and that's it. Landstar does have 2-day orientation, but the process to get to orientation, wicked work, right? So I went through the process. It took me, I applied for Landstar probably because I got on in June. So I applied for Landstar in May. Okay. I went through the whole process. Of course, I had dropped my hazmat last year, September, because I never used it. So I had to go back and get my hazmat. So even though when you do your hazmat, until you get your actual license, they'll still accept you as long as you have that receipt saying you passed the hazmat, you're going to get your license with your hazmat. So you can still go ahead with the application process. So you got to do that. Again, you got to do your drug test. But the drug test is the last thing that you do, because you got to take your truck to get inspected from one of their approved inspection sites, usually a TA. They give you a list or whatever, right? So you got to do all of that, and whatever repairs you need, you got to get that done so you can pass your inspection. Fortunately for me, I didn't need any repairs. My truck was like A1, so everything was good there. You got to take the test. They ask you for the same paperwork over and over. You're on driver's post, like, yo, every day, updating this, updating that, updating. Well, that was from me. I was updating every single day. The process, very lengthy, okay? Now, when you complete everything and they say, okay, welcome on board, they're going to send you out a packet that's supposed to have like your decal and all of your things in it. You need that packet that so you can go to orientation. Now, even though the process is strenuous, until they get you into orientation, do not think that you are going to be working somewhere else. No, baby, you got to have some funds put up, because you can't work while you're going through that process. Okay, they need that VIN number on your truck to be clear. Okay, so for me, the process was so long. By the time I left Delta, I did go to Cloud for about a couple of days, because they pay you each day after every load that you drop. So I went there and I ran a couple of loads. I ain't gonna lie, because hey, listen, the Landstar will have you waiting for 50 years. And I was like, no, I still got responsibility, which is crazy for them to think that somebody, unless you got a income household or something like that, you can't just do that. So yeah, I went to Cloud for like a couple of days, and okay. And then when it was time for me to go to orientation, I had to beg Cloud to release my VIN number. So finally, time for orientation, right? They didn't send the packet. Well, they sent out the packet. When they said the packet was going to arrive, it didn't arrive, right? But I needed to start working. So I had orientation scheduled for that Monday. I sat and I waited, right? I was even online looking like, does USPS or UPS deliver on Saturday? They said they do, I guess, sometimes, but my packet ain't never come. So listen, I had nothing. I had to get to orientation. So I drove all the way to orientation, right? Which they also tell you, if you don't have the packet, you can't come to orientation. So the orientation got, all the little pamphlets and the books and the things that you need. I didn't have that. So I went to orientation anyways. And when I got there, by the grace of God, I was able to reorder it and have it sent to orientation, which that was a $40 charge. Okay. So the orientation is 2 days, right? I'm not gonna lie, I kept falling asleep in that puppy too, because baby, listen. And they don't really drill you so much on hazmat, but you do go over hazmat a lot. You have to take a test. It is an open book test. The thing with that test is, even though it's an open book test, if you fail it, you get to take it again, right? You get to take it right then and there again. If you fail it the second time, I think they say you got to wait like 6 months. You don't even get to start working. You have to wait like 6 months to do the whole application process again, just until you pass this open book test, right? So it's open book, right? But whatever. So that was that. After orientation, oh, they do feed you during orientation. We did eat good because, honey, we had some ribs and all of the things, okay? So after orientation, right? Orientation is 2 days, but then you would think that, okay, well, new drivers are coming there. Y'all supposed to have trailers already lined up if they don't have their own trailer. Landstar ain't got no trailers, baby. Listen to me, okay? After orientation, they were like, okay, you guys can go back home. You got to call the trailer department and get on a list. that list, sometimes you're on that list for 3 weeks waiting for a trailer. So not to mention the month you just waited trying to get on. Okay, then waiting to get to orientation. Now you gotta go back home after orientation and wait for a trailer, baby. Oh no, we gonna get into that. Listen, I gotta do another video, and I gotta tell you how that situation went. But I do want to say some things about Landstar. To me, so far, Landstar is a good company. I don't like the fact that they do send you home right after orientation, because when you go to orientation, you ready to roll. I need to get on that low board. I need my trailer. I need to get my things, and I need to go. That is not the case with Landstar. However, one of the benefits with Landstar, you are able to pull a variety of things. You got oversized loads, you got step deck, you got flatbed, you can go to the port and haul containers, you can do all of the things, okay? Dry van, reefer, listen, you can do all of the things, okay? But, and they also offer, they have like free training, like if you don't know how to do, like step deck or flatbed, you can go to one of their classes. They'll teach you how to do it, and you get the little training that you need to get. Switch your trailer out. You might have to go back on the trailer list, but yeah, switch your trailer out. Now, this is another thing that I do want to mention about Landstar. These are for people that are just coming, people are thinking about coming to Landstar, but it's something else that I do want to share. Now, this is the thing. One of the most important things at Landstar, if you're thinking about coming to Landstar, remember I talked about them trailers. The trailers, listen, it seems like the trailers at Landstar are everything, okay? Even when you get on and say you're waiting to get a trailer, you want to get one early and you try to do one of those SOS loads, the drivers at Landstar, they treat the trailers like gold. Now, yes, not all the trailers are up to par, but this is the thing. You need to have a trailer before you can get a load, okay? So it ain't, even though a lot of the loads are drop and hook, you gotta have a trailer to drop it, to even pick up a drop and hook. You gotta have a trailer to get live loaded. So don't think that you could just go somewhere and be like, okay, well, they got a drop and hook and I can just pick up the trailer and start from there. No, baby. You gotta bring something to get something. So listen, until you have your trailer, and you listen, when sometimes when you drop your trailer, say you go to a shipper to retrieve a load, a drop and hook, you might drop that trailer and they ain't even got no trailers to give you. And then you know what? You got to go back on the list. So you got to treat your trailer, no matter how raggedy it is, you got to treat that bad boy like royalty. Because if you ain't got no trailer, baby, you ain't got no work. Okay, that is the thing with Landstar. So even when them trucks break down and they say they on a load and they got to repower, they would rather call somebody they know that would drop the load for them, bring the trailer back to them. They'll pay them a little something so they can keep their trailer. But baby, they ain't giving up them trailers. Okay, they will fight you tooth and nail. Okay, even the lock pins that they give you for the trailer. Listen, people be ripping them things off and getting them trailers. Is Landstar trailers is that serious? So when I get loads, I'll be like, listen, do you have a trailer for me to pick up? I need the trailer number now. Because listen, I'm not going on that trailer list, but it's that deep with the trailers. Okay, so for anybody that is thinking about coming to Landstar, it is a slow start. You're not going to be coming over here making $4,000 a week, but you're going to be making your monies. Okay, when I first started my first week, we gonna get into that in another video. But listen, I don't know if that was my welcoming to Landstar. I hated it. I completely hated it. It was hell beyond. But after that, it picked up. You make it do what it do. And yeah, the goal here is to just keep on rolling. You got people coming over here, they're looking at the load board. Of course, it got to make sense, but they looking at the load board. Oh, I'm not going to pull unless it pays over $2.50 a mile or three. Listen, baby, you got to keep that truck rolling. If you into pulling heavy loads, that's up to you. You have the opportunity to pull all light loads. Me personally, I ain't going past 20,000 unless it's paying really good. If you're one of them people that like to go to Canada and Alaska, those loads pay really, really good. I'm not into that. I really want to stay, around the area because, you, I can just stay around the area and not do over the road, but I still am doing a little bit over the road. If the price is right, I'm hitting the road. Okay, so for all of you guys that haven't heard from me, my new beginnings are at Landstar. I am a LS girl, a BCO baby. But I'm gonna do a video tomorrow, and I'm gonna tell you about moving forward, my first load, the chain of events that happened that took me over and under and beyond. And I ain't gonna lie, I was ready to go back to Delta right then and there. But I hung in there. Your girl was a G. I came up out of it, and we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. Until then, until tomorrow, tell your friends to subscribe, okay? I will be back. Thank you.